couldn't that from?
Welcome to San Antonio FC Fancast. My name is Harry. Royce isn't here, so that's why you get the this opening for it here. So sorry, Royce. Sorry to let you down, but I don't feel like going for that here. Joining me tonight, Mr. Houston, Mr. Austin, Mr. FC Dallas. I'm not sure which one because he was celebrating all teams this past week here. Matt, how are you?
I'm Houston for MLS. I'll admit it. I'll wear that on my sleeve. I'm Houston all the way. Great, sir. Just trying to take that break for these 2 weeks before it's the next home game.
And then Rafa, I'm sure he's going to try to say Real Madrid won both Copa America and the Euros. I'm pretty sure he's laying claim to both of them.
Yeah, pretty much.
And then the professional of the group, Mr. Jonathan Check, how are you?
Doing all right. I don't know that I qualify as a professional anymore, but
out of the three of us, you're a professional. Let's be honest.
The most professional.
So welcome everybody. It should be a quick show. SAFC's been on a bye this past week. Officially, unofficially, they had a match which I had a family reunion to go to. So when the schedule came out, I was like, "Yay!" And then I'm like, "Yeah, I can't go," but. I gave the tickets to my neighbor. It was his first SAFC match. He said he had a good time. I believe the three of you were there, maybe. I'm not sure. I was busy doing mother-in-law stuff, scoring points for there. So, kicking off with transactions, SAFC announced Rece Buckmaster transferred from Hartford Athletic on 7/15, bolstering the wing-back fullbacks, 86 clearances, 114 interceptions, 2 goals, 5 assists, and 55 appearances with Memphis. 22-23, according to Jonathan Check, and I'll let him to go into it. Coach Marcina praises 1v1 defending and skills in tight spaces. However, with Hartford, it did seem like this year he was kind of struggling a little bit here. So maybe new scenery in San Antonio will kind of help get him out of the funk here. But Jonathan, your thoughts on the signing? I know you've spoke with, you've maybe not spoke with is not the right term, but you've been in the press conferences with Coach Marcina. His thoughts or any tidbits that you wanted to add on to that?
Not really. I mostly put most of what I was putting in the show notes was what was in the press release. And for Marcina to talk about a player's 1v1 defending is not uncommon. But I suppose that's still a positive. And I think perhaps the biggest thing is you're bringing in another sort of fullback, wingback. We've seen Lucas Silva out for the last few months, and until SAFC got Nelson Flores Blanco in about a month ago now, if even that, Shannon Gomez, I think, was pretty much the only recognized fullback that they had fit, or fullback or wingback.
The academy kids, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that gives SAFC more depth at that position for if there are injury. Obviously Silva, like I said, has been out for when Shannon goes on international duty. Now that you've got Flores Blanco and Buckmaster, you've got some depth there. And I know some people have talked about how, especially when SAFC was going through its really rough run in June, they're playing the balls so much, out to the wings and stuff. Well, I mean, now at least you've got more players there. They can expend more energy. You've got the depth there to where if you need to rotate one of them, if Shannon or Nelson Flores Blanco says, hey, I'm kind of gassed this week, Alan, or if they pick up a knock or something, you've got that cover there. So in terms of him as an individual player, we'll have to see how he turns out. I don't even know if I'm not mistaken, he didn't really get even that many appearances this year with Hartford. No. So who knows if that's just he didn't click with the team, if when he did get minutes, he wasn't showing well. But it's a new team, new conference even. So we'll see how it turns out for him. Maybe Marcina knows some things about him that will make him fit a lot better.
The interesting thing for me was that this was not a multi-year deal transfer for that here. So to me, that was kind of the interesting thing for me. Matt, outside of the name, which I'm assuming the name's going to go over very well within the supporters group here. Buckmaster's a entertaining name, and I'm sure you guys will come up with some fun chats. Your thoughts on the move?
Pretty interesting that one little clip or snip that SAFC put out of him playing. I guess they're doing a little team-on-team little match there. He looked pretty fast from what the little clip was. I mean, I haven't looked too deep as everyone else into him. I let the playing on the field talk for itself. You can give stats and everything, but whatever on the field is going to be probably different from what it said.
Rafa, your final thoughts on before we move to the alumni section?
I mean, decent signing, I guess. I mean, just added depth to the defense. I think you do need some defense depth there, especially with injuries and cards. At least he's a player that he has to play inside or outside. I guess he can fill those roles. So it's a start. I know we're still missing pretty much not the 9 that we need. But it doesn't hurt having some depth in the back because you do need it. I think even some games you can tell that we were lacking on there. So we'll see. It should be interesting how he plays in this role going forward.
And I know I'm trying to find the tweet from USL Tactics I think he put something out on it. John with USL Tactics. Yeah, I'm not finding it right away. So never mind. So moving on. Return to the Superliga on Sunday away at Silkeborg. So kind of surprised Jose is still with them because there were rumors of him being transferred out. So far that hasn't happened. Watch the Superliga. I forget where, but I believe you are able to find to watch it here. I'll do some research to be able to put that out here. We'll go with you, Jonathan. Here, your thoughts on Jose and going back up to the first division.
Yeah, well, so first of all, it just feels so crazy that a league is going to be starting back up again this next weekend. I know they've got, for anyone else who doesn't know, they've got a mid-season break for the winter. They do a winter break over there. I think theirs is about a month and a half, maybe even 2. So it's understandable that they're starting this early. It just still feels so weird because I'm so used to England and that kind of calendar. It'll be interesting to see what kind of role he plays, since obviously they're back up in the Super League. Like you had mentioned, there were apparently rumors that he might be going. Who knows? Maybe now that he's had a couple years to adapt to the European game, maybe he's able to factor more heavily this time. For those who weren't following from the start of his time over there, he got about half a season in the Superliga with Sonderjyske before they got relegated. So, but I feel like even once they did get relegated and they were playing in the first division there, he gradually settled into the game, got more playing time. So even with the promotion, maybe he's still able to give them something very useful. Maybe the sort of trickery and agility that he can provide is something that you may not find in as many players over in that league. As far as where to watch it, I know a couple years ago it was on 11 Sports or whatever it was called back then. Maybe it was One Football at the time. I don't know.
It's probably on FIFA Plus.
Well, yeah. So I was going to say that does not exist. The only place that I've found that says it would be broadcasting it is Bet365. And
be careful.
I don't. Yeah,
that's not something that we're encouraging.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know that you can even access it in Texas because no sports gambling. I suppose if you really wanted to, maybe you could lie and say you're in Louisiana. That's close enough, right?
VPN.
To me, that was silly to tie streaming and watching this stuff to a betting. Like, you should be able to watch and just have the betting disabled. Like, I don't know why that's not something they could do, but I haven't looked into it yet. They play at 7 a.m. on Sunday anyway. Yes. And especially with SAFC playing late, who knows? Like, I'm usually
you'll be up. You'll be up.
You don't know my sleep schedule, Harry.
Well, I didn't say you wouldn't go back to bed afterwards.
That's fair.
But you'd be up here. I'm trying to see if it is on FIFA Plus, going through their laundry list of leagues that they cover. Moving on, Tani and Team Canada reached the Copa America semis and only lost on PKs. And I'm not going to say this, Jonathan, so if you want to put your other line in there, because that's hogwash what you typed.
Well, I mean, hey, Copa America is in fact the South American tournament, and if Canada lost in the semifinal, that means that just by a hair, Canada is only the 4th best team in South America. And that's you're in pretty good company there. You're behind Argentina, obviously, Colombia, Uruguay. Those are big. I mean, hell, you're ahead of Brazil. That's pretty good.
And weren't they the winners of the World Cup qualifying for CONCACAF last run as well? I believe they won the 6, I think is what it was, right? The 6.
No, the hexagonal.
The hexagon.
Well, yeah. So they had to do an octagonal last time. They had to change qualifying format because of the Rona. But yeah, they did top World Cup qualifying. So a good few years for them. Besides the actual 2022 World Cup that didn't quite turn out as they would have hoped. But playing on home soil, I'm sure they're going to put up a better fight in 2 years from now. We focus so much on the U.S. and it's hosting most of that tournament in 26, but obviously Mexico has their own problems, but even just playing on home soil, obviously they're going to look to have a better showing than usual, and a better showing than they've had for the last few years. And Canada could be a really nice surprise. I would say can really have a tournament where they get the attention of the world, and the world says, you know what, you guys have a good crop of players right now. You're performing decently. Maybe we should look into some of these guys. Maybe we should take you more seriously.
And coach, they closed all the gates and won't let you enter. That's a wise person, whoever closed the gates. You could just say, hey, your release time was out. Sam Adeniran transferred to the Union today. Kind of a little bit surprised it's not overseas, but he couldn't go back to St. Louis. Just too much bad news, and we won't go into the detail because we're not an MLS match show here for that here. So we will we will be moving on. If my cursor can get back over here. And then the final one is everybody's favorite USL defender going to MLS, Sebastien Ibeagha, winning the Copa Tejas for FC Dallas over Team Broccoli last night, which prevented Austin from becoming the first team to three-peat. And this is something for Team Matt as well. RGV and Houston Dynamo are still two teams that have never touched the Copa Tejas. So the Houston's looking all right for the Shield, but for the Copa Tejas, Team Orange cannot get it done for that here. So we'll go to you, Matt, because you're our MLS expert here. So your thoughts on Sebastien Ibeagha. And Ibeagha's been playing great. He's been playing good. He's not an elite MLS center back, but he is a solid, solid for FC Dallas, and glad he found a home up there. And to think at one point he played for the Houston Dynamo, who released him.
Yeah. Also worth noting, Ibeagha, MLS champion a couple years ago.
Yes, with LAFC. Yes, that is correct.
On his resume.
It was pretty. I mean, it was a pretty interesting game. I watched the whole game because.
Silly red card by Rece, though.
Yes. But at the same time, there was tension. You knew there was tension throughout that whole game. I mean, there were wrong acts from on both sides of the field. So at the end of the day, man, I mean,
so Musa got the yellow card for talking the trash.
Yes. I mean,
Rece went over the back of Cascante and did that. And he's the captain. Austin's got other issues. They need to get rid of their coach.
Yeah, they have
discussion.
They have so much issues going on. I mean, I know y'all guys saw me put in our text group. Man, they were crying. The Austin FC fans were crying. Not crying like wham. They're crying like what the is going on. But I mean, to me, but like I tweeted out, you compare what they were talking about last year to this year. It's to them, it's still just a cup. They don't see the proud prize of it like we do, or like how El Paso does.
And this may get me in trouble, and I put this out there. If you win the cup, you care about it. If you don't win the cup, it's just another cup. And I'm sorry, El Paso's engagement's gone down. All of a sudden, FC Dallas engagement's gone up. Houston and RGV are both, we could care less about it here because they've never won it. And it's getting better. It is getting better. And the more time, the more people win it, or, the more clubs win it. For USL, we need some stability. We need to bring back some Texas clubs for that here. But overall, if you win it, you embrace it a lot more than if you don't win it. And like I said, I love Steve and Danielle, and like I said here, I do some of the stuff behind the scenes, and I've talked to Steve about the Dallas Trinity, kind of get some ideas for them to be able to get into the Shield for that here, because they will be a D1 team kicking off a month now, right? Late August. For that here, I believe is when the women's league kicks off for USL for that here. So along those lines. So,
but nevertheless, congratulations to Dallas. I mean,
yes.
Hey, that was a well fought game. Well.
It was great. It was an entertaining game, especially as a neutral. Early goals. I think in the first 15 minutes, each team had scored. Then it kind of slowed down, and as you mentioned, kind of got into a slogfest. Then there was a clear PK call. They missed it, or it was saved, but Stuver was off the line. I know we don't have to like the rule, but his foot was not on the line. They did a second one, and the guy buried it. It was an elite PK for the win. And then drama happened, and then Austin had the possession but couldn't do anything. And I was like, if they were playing SAFC, There you go, but they're not. So moving on, Rafa, any thoughts? And I guess I should go to Jonathan. Any thoughts on Copa Tejas MLS? I know you guys are such huge fans for that here, and going to be promoting them or following them in the Leagues Cup and all that fun stuff.
I didn't even see America in Leagues Cup. Where are they?
They should be. Hopefully, I mean,
they're in there, but I'm not following the Leagues Cup because they're screwing the USL, and it's just a money grab. But we won't go that far. But outside of the trying to find your favorite team and promote Club America, just like Real Madrid, and I'm sure you're Jonathan's in Manchester City, just the the big name clubs,
the team of champions. I'm sure Jonathan can relate on that. But I'm glad Broccoli didn't win. So congrats to Dallas. Unless it's always a good day when Broccoli doesn't win. So
I will say one of the cool things, and I enjoy it because I think out of all of us, I follow the Broccoli team the most and have pretty good relationships with them. The Broccoli or the Bucky's takeover when they go up to Dallas, the pictures that they post on that are usually pretty cool, where you've got all the supporters all together at a Bucky's, and so that is something that's very cool. And like I said here, it would be kind of cool to have something, El Paso, San Antonio, if they would frickin' schedule the matches on the weekend to be able to do. But moving forward here. Coach Kano with the plug here. 50-50 pod will return tomorrow afternoon. Shameless, he didn't put the time to discuss the U.S. men's national team novella. Do you know the time frame there, Rafa? Because I know you're Mr. U.S. men's national team.
I think he's usually on the around 3-4 p.m. I think he's been doing some of the shows on that time. I'm too. You'll probably confirm it on here, but yeah, I got some novellas going on too. Also with the Mexican national team, that's a whole other. It's if you can combine, you can have one big novella for both teams.
Hey, don't give MLS some marketing that idea, because I'm sure they would try, and that might be the only way that they could for USA and Mexico to win a World Cup would be if they were able to combine. He says Holla United. There we go. 2 p.m. 2 p.m. kickoff for that here. But moving on finally to SAFC Phoenix. 2-1 win. July 6th, day before my birthday. Another 2 goals by everybody's favorite, Royce's favorite player. One Agudelo, 39th minute, and a penalty in the 81st minute. Frederick Varela equalized in the 58th minute. Starting lineup, you had Pablo back in the net, Tainer, Burks, and then Burra. Out on the wing, you had Nelson Blanco, Jorge, Kevin Lambert, Luke, and then Shannon Gomez. And up top, you had LaCava and Agudelo. And then I think off the bench, Mac Chop came in for Jake in the 72nd minute. And then Hugo came on for Juan Agudelo in the 90th minute and picked up a yellow card right at the end for that here. But fun match for that here. Jonathan, you want to go into the injury report, kind of go over, it seems like it's getting healthier, not many changes along those lines, or do you want me to go over that?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm the one who did the show notes on this, so I guess it makes sense that I can do it. Yeah, at least for that El Paso match, there were actually no changes to the injury report. We'd had a few players gradually coming off of it in the weeks prior. So it was still Luis Solignac, Lucas Silva, Mohamed Omar, and Carter Manley. There will be changes when we talk about the Saprissa friendly a little later. Spoiler alert. But yeah, we talked about the goals already. I will note it's the second match in a row that Jorge Hernandez linked up with Agudelo on a free kick. So, their partnership is blossoming at the moment. And it's Juan provided, or Jorge provided one of Juan's goals early in the season too. So like, it's not like it is only coming to fruition now, but 2 matches in a row for them, that's a good sign. It's maybe kind of heating up. And as I actually wrote in an article earlier today, that's perhaps a good sign. Agudelo even mentioned the MLS teams he was on, some of the better ones, you had to have sort of that playmaker and that forward, providing goals and assists, having that good partnership. So that's a good sign for SAFC going forward. But besides that, I think that's pretty much all. I mean, that we should note, I don't think we've mentioned it yet, that whenever Phoenix did finally snap SAFC's club record losing streak of 5 matches, and Phoenix was, they themselves are a club in turmoil. They had just changed their head coach at the time, and there was a lot of anger in the fan base. So even
There's
after that,
still a lot of anger in the fan base.
Yeah.
And
so it's not like SAFC be the top of the table team, but it's a win.
Hey, but they didn't lose to the bottom of the table, which they've done a lot this season as well. So for that here. So Matt, your thoughts on the game? Like I said here, if you want to kind of discuss pregame, anything along those lines, for that here, and then just your thoughts on how the game was in the bunker and with the supporters this last 2-1 victory.
From what I remember from that game, it was a pretty fascinating game. I mean, I haven't seen the crowd invested as much as it was that day, and even for a July 4th weekend, everybody off and out with their families. It was a pretty good vibe in the stadium. In the bunker was very, very how do I put it? It was very exciting. We had some groups of people buy tickets down there, and everybody was in unison that night. So it was a very special night. It felt well needed. We'll put it at that.
Rafa, your thoughts? I know you were with me in 114. It was an entertaining game. To be honest with you, I was a little surprised they pulled it out after they gave up the equalizing goal. But it felt good leaving the stadium, with a victory, and especially coming off the last show there. The vibe feels a little bit different around this team coming off a victory for that here. So, kind of your thoughts.
Well, prior to us winning the game, I think the vibe going into that game was very like walking on eggshells. Like they had that losing streak, and you can tell people were very worried. Are we going to lose another one? And if we do lose, are we going to make a change after this game? Or
I put that out prior that if Marcina loses this game, does SAFC make a change? I put that out there just because that would have been what 7 in a row, somewhere like that.
Six. Yeah, 6. Yeah. And going, like I said, getting the first one was great. That's a good start. But I think that when they equalize, you can tell that was a very bad, like I said, losing focus. Like I said, that this whole Tani Oluwaseyi thing has been non-existent, and that showed there when Phoenix equalized. And you can tell when they scored, the crowd's vibe it went down, and they were expecting the worst. Oh no, here we go again. We're gonna give up another, kind of like the last game, give up a lead and end up losing. But you got to give it to the guys. They grinded it out. I think they finally were able to pull one out. Agudelo got the second one, and we're able to maintain the lead. And like I said, and I think that lifted a shoulder, kind of like the monkey off their back a little bit, not too much, because like I said, we're still a long way to go. But is this that game kind of maybe the turning point of switching things moving forward, and going into these next 2 games, we'll see. And like Jonathan mentioned about getting healthy and so forth, which like I said, the rosters are going to change. How do we build upon that win versus Phoenix, since they were going through a turmoil too? Can we start a little winning streak? Because we are going to get in the kind of like the meat and potatoes of the schedule. We're going to be playing some playoff caliber teams, and if we want to get back in it, I'm not saying we're going to catch up to New Mexico, but if we're going to get back in it, and maybe even host, because we are still within range of hosting one playoff game.
Slow down, buddy. Slow down.
But yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Let's walk before we start running.
Yeah. But, this is a good game to start, but can they be consistent? That's the thing. Build consistency. Can you improve? Can you improve from that game and have a better showing this coming weekend at OC?
And really quickly, just to build off of that, something I had neglected to mention, but you guys brought it up, was holding on to that lead in the Phoenix game was a huge thing. And for those, shameless plug here, if you read my preview, I had said key to the match, learn how to hold a lead again, because going into that, dating back to April 27th, SAFC had leads 6 times in matches and had only won 1 of those, and actually went on to lose 3 of those matches where at one point it held a lead. So to see them rally back, they let an equalizer in for that first goal, but then they got the lead again and they were able to hold on to it, albeit it was only for 10 minutes. But they, for the second time, again, dating back to April 27th, they were able to hold that lead. And so hopefully they're able to kind of channel that energy going forward. They've got that confidence of, okay, we can hold a lead again. It is possible. And that's, I feel like the offense it's had its issues this year, but it's not completely terrible. It's the defense leaking goals that's been kind of the issue, I'd say. Mm-hmm. And so locking down that lead, even just for those 10 minutes again, that's really key. That's a good sign going forward, I'd say.
So the next match here, and whoever, I wasn't there, so I can't speak to this. It wasn't televised. So San Antonio falls 2-4 against Cespedes of Costa Rica in an international friendly for that here. I don't know who wants to take the lead on this here. I know, Jonathan, you got the notes here, but I believe Rafa and Matt were both there, if not. So like I said here, I can't speak to anything.
It was a yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead, John.
I was literally gonna tee you up. I was gonna say, particularly because of one of the players who was available again. I feel like, given your complaints about not having a number 9 this year, you might want to talk about this, Rafa.
Yeah. So finally, someone that we'd signed and only seen one season and one game, scored the only game. Lucho finally made his return, and even though it was a short return, and I know he talked to Matt and I after the game, but it was good to see him. He did miss a for sure goal that she should have buried that in, but I guess a little shaking off the rust. But we also had Manley back, so we're happy to see him back. He's a vital part of our defense too as well. And for the beginning, for us to get a lead on them, and like I said, Saprissa is a Champions League team for CONCACAF, so and they've gone deep in that tournament too. So to go kind of toe to toe them for a while, it was good. I can only imagine if maybe we had our full first team. I think that'd be an interesting game. I think it'd be a very competitive game. But I think Marcina really wanted to. I was a little surprised he pulled out Lucho and Carter very early on within just 15 minutes. I think it maybe should have given him maybe at least 30 just for fitness wise. But I guess they just wanted to be precaution. And then I guess they want to give him more time to the academy players and some of the bench players. But overall, I mean, it was a good game. It was a decent crowd. Like I said, you had your Saprissa fans there. They were enjoying it, because it's rare for them to see their team. I don't know if they even televise the Costa Rican leagues in any of the outlets around here. So, it was a good vibe, and I mean, I don't think it's it was as big as was last year with Sutherland. I think that was a bigger kind of like a little bigger crowd than this year. But I mean, it was a fun game, and kudos to the academy kids. Like I said, they were able to get a lead for a bit, but just experience, not having experience to hold on to that. Like I said, they're playing a first division team, so it's good for them, and we'll see what we do for this coming week.
Really quickly, just to build off of that, because you had mentioned, maybe giving Solignac and Manley more than the 15 minutes. Something that Marcina mentioned post game was also giving them, sort of having them go through warm-ups. So, I mean, I would still think that maybe it's more about giving them actual game time, but I guess if you are going to ease someone in, that warm-up process is also part of it. And if you have them doing that, if you have them going through that full warm-up, hopefully that kind of lessens the chance that they re-aggravate the injury, which is kind of what happened to potentially Lucho earlier this season, because like you mentioned, he came on for about 20 minutes in Hartford, helped SAFC ice that win in April, but that was his only league appearance. So maybe the strategy here was, okay, let's make sure if we're going to give them minutes and it's a friendly, we can give unlimited substitutions. Let's go and give them a full proper warm-up, and then they can get in their 15 minutes, and then we'll pull them off. But get some minutes in terms of warming up and then playing, rather than just having them, okay, get up off the bench, you're going to play the last 15 minutes. I suppose maybe it is a little more beneficial to have done it the way SAFC did.
Matt?
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty cool to see that the injury report go down to 2. Obviously, we know the last 2 are kind of season-wise, maybe, but I mean, that I've heard. But yeah, for sure, talking to Lucho after the game, he's like, I wanted more minutes, but they're just easing me in. And like I said, it was good to see him on the field again. He was happy to be on the field. But like Rafa said, if to give some of those players a little bit more time, even with unlimited substitutions, it would have been great to get them into a feel. But once again, kudos to those academy kids. They did put up a good fight towards the end. You saw pretty much kind of like the first team a bit. Not gonna lie, how they're defending and some of the midfield game. But once again, like, kudos to those kids.
International friendlies are always fun. To me, like I said, at least under Coach Marcina, and I think it's probably a good track form for them to do. First half, you'll typically get starters. Second half is going to be mainly the academy kids getting the experience, which is, to me, an awesome part if you are part of the pro academy, to be able to say, hey, you played against Sunderland or Sesbrizza or a Liga MX team that we've had here. Moving on, San Antonio travels to Orange County. I'm trying to remember this match here. They played to a fun-filled 0-0 draw on, when was that? Early in the season.
April? Yeah, early April sometime.
Lineup, shockingly, not that much different than what I picture. Pablo, Tainer, Burks, Bonnie probably won't be there. You figure it's probably going to be Burra, unless Manley gets the start, but I think they're still nursing him back. Silva's obviously out, but you got Nelson Blanco there, Luke, Kevin, Shannon, Jorge, Juan Agudelo, and then Cameron Lacey. Lacey, I doubt, starts. It'll probably be Jake LaCava for that here. But if you really look at the lineup, 3 out of the 11 will probably be changed from them. So I'm trying to remember this match here for it here. That probably tells us we had 2 big chances. We had 17 shots. They had 8. Their goalie saved 3. 2 on here. Fouls 19-12 for that here. We had 421 passes. So this was early in the year where we were really trying to control excuse me, control the shots here. But if memory serves me right, this is one of those matches where, it was kind of a warning sign of, hey, things aren't necessarily right, but it was early. So we were like, hey, they'll work through it. Orange County's struggling as well. They've had a coaching change since then as well. It'll be kind of interesting to see how they match up. Orange and Blank Soccer Cast, Ray and the crew do a great job for there. So if you want to get kind of their feedback, you can check them out on YouTube, or they also do the podcast as well here. So they have a good preview show on there. It was Monday night, late 10:30, I think is when it was here, Texas time here. I couldn't make it on, but to me, it's a match that, surprisingly, I feel kind of confident going into it. I mean, maybe it's just kind of the different vibes, and maybe me being a little bit, with my SAFC rose-colored glasses on, coming off a victory, coming off some changes that SAFC's implemented for that here. Just to me, I think it's just a different mood around the team. To me, I actually think they go into Orange County and get a win for that here. And I know probably, that's probably, if you're looking at the betting odds, that's probably would be going against Vegas, or, whoever you go against the betting odds on. But I just get the feeling that SANtonio FC, because they got that losing streak over, they had a couple weeks to get healthy. When you look at the talent on paper, they're not a 10th place team, 20 points for that here. Now, luckily, outside of New Mexico, and who's at 34, like I said here, and I know Rafa kind of teased this earlier, that if they go on a run, they could find themselves right back in the middle of the playoffs with possibly even the ability to host. So it's a huge match. Orange County's at 24 points in 19 matches and 8th. We're in 10th place, 20 points at 18 matches. So theoretically, if SANtonio, to win the tiebreaker, this is huge too. To win the tiebreaker, if SANtonio FC can win, if they finish level on points, SANtonio, would be able to hold the tiebreaker in the head-to-head. So, Matt, we'll go to you. Your thoughts, and then I know it's early-ish. For it here, and it's a 9:00 kickoff. So I haven't seen what the Crocketeers are doing, or FTC is doing here, and I don't know if there is, because sometimes with 9:00 games it's kind of hard to do, just because 9:00 on a Saturday night. Bars and clubs typically are looking for other things besides SAFC soccer matches for that here. There's generally a UFC or a boxing show that draws pretty well. But your thoughts on the match, and if you know anything about the supporters group plans, or where they'll be able to find that out once things get finalized for you.
Yeah, going into the match, I mean, I'm being very optimistic. I'm hoping something good comes out of it. It's literally a wait and see process, and on my part, it's more of a let's see what happens. Like, don't count the eggs before they hatch. So, we're gonna wait and see. As far as watch parties, I would have to talk to James and see about that one. I know for us, we're trying to figure out where we want to go, because I know we have a pre departure for Doc that day. So shout out to Doc for everything you do, heading out to, what is it, North Carolina?
South Carolina, Ferrum, right?
Yes. So with
Andrew
getting accepted there. So yeah, we're probably gonna see where we're about, and I'll let the guys put it out there on our socials where we end up.
Rafa?
Congrats again to Andrew on his scholarship. That's it. Getting paid for scholarship there to play soccer. So congrats on that. Just as far as this game, they have to be aggressive. Knowing that OC's got made a coaching change. They've been struggling a bit. You got to build upon the win 2 weeks ago, and you got to go out there and you got to go get the win. These are points that you should have taken care of business at home. You got to go. You got to steal 3 on the road, and the more you can steal 3 on the road, it's going to help you get up and move up the ladder. This is a winnable game. You got to go out. They got to go out there and get a fast start and get a quick lead. And like Jonathan mentioned, they have to maintain that lead. Can they do that? Can they finish the game? Now that we're healthy back, we'll see how the lineup. Will Luchu start this game without Agudelo up top? Possibility.
No.
We don't know yet. That's up to the coaching staff. I mean, you don't know.
He played 15 minutes. They're not starting him. If he'd have played 30 minutes or longer, maybe a little bit more credence. But if they're talking about moving him in slow, no.
Okay, for what it's
maybe
worth,
a late sub. Yes.
Okay, well, I mean, I was going to say, though, like with Lucho, if he can only play those first 15 minutes, that's by his rate, 2, maybe 3 goals there. We know how Lucho operates, so you never know. That could be enough. Talking to him, Matt and I mean, he really felt, he's saying that he could have probably played a lot more. And I think you as a player can tell how your body feels. And I think the kind of the vibe he got from him, I think he really felt he could have played more, at least 30 minutes or maybe to the half. But like I said, could we see him in the starting lineup? It is a possibility. We don't know yet. Like I said, it's going to be up to Marcina. Maybe he comes off the bench. We don't know. Manley, kind of the same thing too. Is he going to start or is he going to be plugged in towards the end? Because there's some consistency.
Who would you rather have, Manley or Burra? I would rather have Burra.
Or would you have Manley out on the outside for Shannon? Shannon's been inconsistent, for a few games. He has. And remember that one goal we gave up in New Mexico.
Yes, he did.
So
I still blame
Manley
for that one.
No, that was on Shannon. You watched the replay. He got
on Shannon. But yeah, Rafa's going all with the Shannon hate right now.
That's not Shannon hate. It's just saying is this. He has been playing a little inconsistent. He's kind of lost a step a little bit. Now, do you put Manley has played that position in the past? Do you put Manley out there that way you don't miss the chemistry with Burrow back there? Now I think Marcina now has more options as far as with the lineup where he could play toy with.
The player that they brought in plays Buckmaster plays on that side. So I think if it's not Shannon, it would be Buckmaster over Manley for that here. Just to point that out.
Yeah, so I mean, but I think it could be Manley because, like I said, he knows the system. It might take a while for Buckmaster to learn too. Like I said, who's Marcina going to trust more? So he's going to go over with Manley.
I like his smile. He knows something.
He knows something. Well, maybe we'll leave that to Jonathan.
Let's just get to Jonathan. We probably should have started with Jonathan, so that way we don't look like idiots. Now Jonathan's going to come back like, well, blah 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 blah.
He's got that poker face there. So
exactly.
So for what it's worth, this is not a smile of "ooh, I know something you guys don't." It's if we're having all this discussion of, well, do you have Burra on the back line or do you have Manley there? Call me crazy.
Good discussion. Good point.
If they're fit, put Manley on the back line. That's where SAFC's mostly used him. I haven't really used him that much as a fullback or a wing back over the years.
For this year, yeah.
But for what it's worth, that doesn't mean necessarily that you take Burra off. Move him to the midfield. I mean, something that people have talked about with SAFC this year, though. They look so weak in the middle, and now Kevin Lambert's back. That provides you a little more stability. But I think maybe there's some merit to having another more central midfielder, though, someone who's not Luke Hawkinson playing out of position yet again. someone who's more comfortable in that central role, maybe you shore it up in the midfield. I don't know. I don't think SAFC would do that, but I think that's an option. That's an idea. And maybe against some of the tougher teams, you can give that a shot. I don't know. But I'm just saying, you don't have to, it's not one or the other. You can move one of those pieces somewhere else. That's why I was smiling.
Like in the past, we have played a 4-back. You could literally see play a 4-3-3. We've seen that before. I know the last game we did play a 3-5-2. You could slide in Burrow to that holy mid, and that way you have Lambert and Jorge as your 2 attacking mids. I think that would be a really good combination there, because Lambert can pass the ball. He is a threat, especially on the set pieces, and maybe that'll free up a little bit Jorge a little bit more too. Jorge Blanco's playing great, lights out on the left side. I think he might be a steal on that. He's been doing great. Right side a little bit more consistency. Like I said, but Shannon does get his, and then up top, like I said, Agudelo, like I said, back-to-back braces. Hopefully you can keep that up. But can we have a forward that can complement him up there too? And that's the thing is, that's where kind of Lucha comes in. Maybe he does come off the bench, but I think now you're seeing this is that the team, you can actually kind of change the pieces a little bit, maybe put people where they are going to be comfortable where they're at. And, and also cause mismatches too. That's the thing is how to match up against OC. What can we do to exploit their weaknesses going into this game?
Jonathan, any thoughts from the press meetings this week with the coaches?
Just a couple things that I could maybe bring up. I believe it was Carter Manley. We asked him, what do you think OC brings? And talked about it being a high energy team. I don't know if it was him or Marcina or maybe even LaCava, but one of them also mentioned it's kind of a mix of young, energetic players and, older, more seasoned, more experienced and skilled veterans. It'll be interesting. And Marcina also mentioned that apparently Orange County is a team that, not to the extent of SAFC, but that has had some injury problems this year. So interesting to see what the chemistry is on the field, their side. And I will also mention, and correct me if I'm wrong, but we have alluded to Orange County having a coaching change. For what it's worth, I don't believe that was necessarily, bad results or anything.
It wasn't, and I was going to circle back to that.
Exactly.
The coach got moved over to the Superliga where Jose plays over there, so he went back home. It's to me, it's a promotion to go to a first team. So it wasn't. They didn't move him because of poor performance or anything like that. This was, and manager got an opportunity to go overseas to Europe, coach near his family, where he grew up, and so yeah, it's a great move for him personally, and Orange County was kind of a little bit shocked with it because it wasn't something. It's not like El Paso where you knew they were going to make a change just, for results along those lines. But yeah, I was going to circle back to that.
Yeah. So just lest anyone think that they're a team in turmoil or anything, it was an amicable split. It's not like it was results related. So who knows how long they would have stuck with it. I mean, I don't know exactly how Orange County might have seen it if he had wanted to stay, if they would have kept him around. But, he moved on, and good opportunity for him. I think he's, if not from Denmark, at least from Europe.
From that area, yeah.
From that area. So I don't begrudge him for going back. But I just wanted to clear that up in case anyone thought that Orange County was another one of those teams that was, axing their coach for bad results. It wasn't that.
So, and just quickly around the horn, because I do want to try to get us out around an hour so that Ray Royce doesn't yell at me. Kind of breaking news from the Seriously Loco. Per sources, a significant portion of the El Paso Locomotive first team and coaching staff have been tested positive for COVID ahead of the Friday night match against Phoenix. The outbreak in the camp accelerated the need for this week's new signings because they've had a couple of signings. Phoenix Rising's also had a couple of new signings back-to-back days, but not a striker, so their fans are still unhappy. And the big news, I guess out of Oklahoma City, new ownership, kind of, sort of. There's new majority owners, Echo, which is big in the area. They still say coming back to USL Championship. I know friend of the show, Cody Larendry, said, hey, come back, even if it's League One, for next year, 2025, so that way you can build up and capitalize for, off of the World Cup coming up for that, which to me is something that I thought that, I think that they should do, even if it's League One. And then, when the stadiums come up, then you move up to League Two, because the energy or whatever they come back as a rebrand as has a lot of rebuilding to do after just, kind of closing shop for the past 3 years here. Anybody else got any USL news, or Matt, you got any MLS news that you want to talk about, or Rafa, any Liga MX news? Jonathan, we won't talk about Man City here because they cheat and break
It's a
all the
United
rules.
podcast, that's why.
Well, yeah, we ought to do a United podcast. Him with Man City and me with Newcastle, but that's a whole different discussion. So, anybody got anything that they want to talk about USL or your league of choice here before we do final thoughts?
I think, international wise, I think there's a lot of, as after the Copa America, the whole fiasco after the final with that chaos. I think there's a lawsuit now. I think I just read a couple hours ago. There's a lawsuit now, I think, by the Hard Rock Stadium against Commonwealth for what, just the whole disorganization on that. And I think the guys from Univision, the commentators, kind of said it best. The precautions, like, as far as for the game, they should have done a better plan as far as security. One of the things they mentioned is they should have had at least about a mile away the entrances going into the stadium. They've done this. I think they gave a perfect example was the Boca Juniors versus River Plate game. That distance, kind of frowns upon people without tickets from going in, so they can kind of clean that up. And they're now there's that biggest concern now. Can the U.S., maintain security during the World Cup? Which I think they can. This is just an isolated. Yeah.
But you do have stadium security and, local police and all that. It's going to be the same in 2 years.
It's not.
Yeah. I'm saying those entities are going to be the same.
Well, no, it's not.
Just have a whole new. I'm pretty sure it would
be. The people that's in charge of it, number one is going to be FIFA, U.S. Soccer, and CONCACAF. This was only CONMEBOL that was in charge of it. FIFA was not. The USSF was not. This was all ran by CONMEBOL. And that's why there was the difference between this Copa America and the one, the previous one there. And that's the reason why CONMEBOL's being sued, and they're going to countersue, and it's going to go in the courts and through there. But
because if you think about it, they've hosted big.
They've hosted the freaking Super Bowl there. Yeah,
you've had the Super Bowl. You had F1, which brings a lot of people who like to run the area. There's no excuses of how you didn't have security there.
Now, I will say it is a good wake-up call for the people that are in charge of it. And not only that, we've had a lot of unfortunate incidences recently in soccer games. Mexico, there's been some in football games. So, but at the major event, World Cup, people that typically get inside are more the corporate type than the average
common worker.
The average Joe that's going to go for that here. But yes, that was a disaster, and Messi's ankle blew up. So
he's out for a while. I think it was some ligament.
Definitely ligament.
And then as far as Euros, like I said, Spain won again. I mean, what can you say for them? Yeah, it was. Now, here's the thing: is Southgate going to be the new coach of the U.S. national team?
No,
it was too. Is it a little too controversial that he decided, what, I'm leaving this?
I think the guy that just stepped down, Vieira, I think is what it is. I think he's the odds-on favorite now.
Yeah.
He stepped down.
He was a
from his
disaster
team
too.
I'm not saying it's good or bad, just but it's not Chundaro from LAFC. It is somebody that does have at least a little bit better experience.
I've heard a bunch of people say they'd rather have someone else international than have the MLS take over because they don't feel confident in MLS taking over for.
I think they mentioned about France's women's national team current coach. I think they mentioned him. That I know Coach Carlos mentioned about him.
A female coach. I don't remember
that he may be probably the best fit. I know with the Mexican Federation, I think more like it's going to be Agudelo. One of the things they talked about, so who's the most qualified coach out of all the Mexican coaches? It's actually him because he has coached in La Liga. He's coached for the Egyptian national team. He's coached for the Japanese national team. But I don't think that's been really the problem. I think it's more about with the players. I think the players, they're not motivated, and they're too focused on themselves. And there's other issues. I don't think coaching was the issue. I think Luis Lozano was a decent coach. I don't think that maybe people are saying that he was treated unfairly, but it goes back to the players and especially them not being sent over to Europe. That's the thing, and that's what they need to fix.
But the U.S. is doing that and not having much better success either. So,
but I think that goes to coaching. Players. I mean, you mentioned Harry Berhalter, and you can tell he just didn't know what the hell he was doing. You plug in, someone else, you put the Bosque in, you put Ancelotti. I'm sure that team wins. At least goes deeper. I even
asked Rafa 2 days ago. I was looking over on my memories on Facebook. I was like, what happened to the gold medal team that played in the Olympics? Where happened to all those players on the
what happened?
What happened to them?
What happened is the federation basically they're too focused on making money than actually developing players.
They didn't play them, right?
No,
played
that was the biggest beef for some of the sport channels there, like the Spanish sport channel, like in the ESPN Deportes, all that. They said if you're going to bring in these younger players, but you didn't play them, it's like, well, why even bring them along if you're not going to play them? And that was the first thing he had. I don't know. And I don't fault Jimmy Lozano for that. He was basically dictated to play certain players. And if you look at the roster compared to some of the rosters from the kind of a few years ago, there are some players currently that shouldn't even be on the team. Like Adeniran, he doesn't need to be on the team. They need to get rid of his ass. And there's a couple other guys. There's a couple other guys from Cruz Azul who are just playing garbage. They need to get some of these younger guys in and give them an opportunity. Had they, if I can accept the fact if they put those in and we don't win games or so forth, at least they're gaining experience. That's what the U.S. national team did. They took their lumps early, but they were able to build their team up to what they have today. This isn't everything runs in cycles, but they're not seeing that. They're more worried about. And another thing that I think they need to start doing, and I mentioned this to Matt, they need to stop playing games over here. They need to keep their playing all the games over there. And I think they're actually going to play the U.S. I think on October the 13th, but I think they're playing that game in Guadalajara. So I think that's the first. No, I heard Guadalajara. I think they've told them already we're not going to play games over here. They need to start playing. They got to start playing games over there now. Because especially now that with the World Cup, especially that's one of the host sites for the World Cup.
But even at that, it's like I told Rafa when you have these conversations, you had a Gold Cup winning team in 2023, right? They played up against the best U.S. And wasn't that the final U.S. and Mexico at that Gold Cup? Why
no, it was Panama, I think.
I thought.
No,
I'm thinking.
No, they beat Panama, I think.
But nevertheless, you had that good core. Why didn't we pick that up and drop it into the next? Why did we have to deal out new cards because you're afraid these guys are too old? It shouldn't have been that way. It should have keep what you got.
It's not so much of them being It's not so much of them being old. It's just they were trying to dictate. They think they know it all. They don't, and that's the thing. I think I kind of see a comparisons with the U.S. Soccer Federation too. They think they know it all, but look what happened. You have a team that can actually do something that should have done something at least. I mean, if they got to the semifinal, that's a win for them because that's something you can build upon for the next, for 2026. But they're not making competent decisions, and they're not putting real soccer people in there to do these things, and especially on the Mexican side, they're more worried about making money, filling out their pockets. That crap needs to end, especially with the owners. The owners do have, I don't know if you guys knew this, the owners of the Liga MX teams, they have voting rights with the national team. So they kind of pick and choose. They take a lot of these things, and I know the U.S. doesn't have that, but still, I think both squads they're pretty much have to take a look in the mirrors, like, hey, we got to fix some things, and like you mentioned about Canada, they're in good hands, and in the way the format from the next World Cup, I can see them to be successful. I can see them getting to a quarterfinal, now that it's been expanded out too. So it's a possibility, especially with some of the world-class players that they have.
Jonathan, any final thought? Or we'll start with you for final thoughts. Then we'll go to Rafa, Matt, and then we'll end with me. Oh, or hold on, but I did want to address Robert's question here. Is there any move on promotion relegation for USL? No, it's just talk here for that here. And then the lack of success at US starts at young age. Yes, everybody would agree with that. I forget who I said starts. I think he said Jonathan, right? Yes, Jonathan.
Yeah. Yes.
Sorry, I meant to get to the USL question from Robert.
Yeah, we kind of jumped through a few other hoops, a few other topics there, but it is nice to hear at least a bit of positive news on Oklahoma City.
Yes.
Someone did say, man, this is a really long way of saying the club got sold, but it is the original owners are still involved. It's just a new majority owner who apparently has a lot of clout up there, and apparently there's already an agreement to build a stadium up there. They just need to actually build the stadium.
Maps 4, yes. Maps 4 was passed already.
Yes. I feel like we've seen over the last couple of years, New Mexico is probably a great example. Sometimes the hardest part of building a stadium is just getting that approval. So it's good that Oklahoma City's got that. I hope, fingers crossed, I hope that comes to fruition and they're able to rejoin the championship in a couple years, even if they have to stop in League One along the way. For SAFC, I mean, you've seen Austin Bold fold, you've seen RGV fold.
Energy, might as well just say energy.
Yeah, I mean, the energy
for all intents and purposes.
So to see at least one of those teams come back would be nice to give SAFC another regional rival. And also, I'm sure Memphis would love to be back in the East and not have to pay to travel out to California and all those exotic locations, because I would hate to see their airline bills. That's all I have.
Go, Matt.
My final thought. It's good to see. As y'all know, we as the three groups came out on the experience for USL. I'm glad to say that I've seen little hints and nits that they're doing some more USL teams this year, and I think the most recent one coming up is Orange County. So, congrats to Orange County for being selected on being part of the
County Coalition.
Yeah, congratulations, guys, and can't wait to see what it's like to be out there, man, for y'all. But then once again, like I said, once the cracks and of course FTC 2.0, once we figure out how that's gonna go about for game night, definitely everybody's gonna put it out there on our socials.
And then my final thought, like I said, really quick, the early congratulations to my younger brother on being a second grandchild. Sebastien was born today. So congratulations. I have a grandnephew. So healthy boy. And then I'm sure he's going to get spoiled a lot by him. And then just look forward to this Saturday's game. Like I said, hopefully we steal 3 points from OC and start building some momentum, because I think now that we are getting healthier, hopefully things kind of get the piece together. I think the one thing, the mentality the boys have to go look for, they have to really do is play this as like this is your last game. If we can go out there, give it all you got, I think we can knock up and get some surprise wins. And who's to say, like I said, we're in the shot to get to that 4th spot. It's within reasonable if we can do well. It's just they have to really stay focused and work hard to it. So wherever you guys can watch the match, hopefully Matt will find out more about it. If we get a watch party, something with Crocs. So keep your eyes on the social media. But we look forward for Saturday's game.
So my final thought here, last episode, we went really hard at SANtonio FC upper management. And while there hasn't been any direct feedback to any of us, at least to my knowledge, we saw, well, I wasn't there, but Marco was seen out in the public, which is something that we had asked. Taylor had called me saying, and I believe Jenny and Mike were able to show their flag at the friendly, which I was like, ooh, they're going to get in trouble. So
they deserve it. Put them in SAFC jail.
So it is time for season renewals, or it's getting around that time frame, with the season ticket representatives. So while we all expressed displeasure with the game day experience mainly, and then we had little pet peeves about the performances and coaching and stuff like that, but the main gripes were with the game day experience. Like I said here, Taylor giving me a call, who isn't my season ticket rep, saying, "Hey, flags are back." Was a cool thing from them to be able to do, because they didn't have to. They could have just said, "Hey, flags are back," or could have passed it through, just the channels that we find information out and gone through. But for Taylor to give a personal call in SANtonio FC for that here, so they do listen. So if you do voice constructive criticism, and even sometimes maybe not constructive criticism, they do look at it when you go to the games and they send an email back saying, "Hey, how was your fan experience?" I think every one of us knows that they do look at those as well, is my understanding for that here. So we ripped them pretty hard the last time we were on here. It's only fair that we do come out and give them some flowers for making some changes for it here, in small changes. But it's, to me, it's big changes showing that they do care. We may not get everything we want, and to be honest with you, we know that. But seeing Marco out, in the crowd, being visible, having the flags, as long as they're SAFC and they've they updated the terms and conditions, or the standards here for that. It's got to be a 3x5 flag, and you got to be common courtesy. You can't just block people all the time. So it can't be offensive. Just common sense stuff for the here that we really hadn't had any issues with. So thank you to SAntonio FC. I'm sure that probably wasn't a fun listen on your guys' side for that here. But thank you for making the small changes, and it could just be a quick eating thing where, hey, it was going to happen anyways for that here. But we got it out there, and I know there were several people that spoke to me, and I'm assuming the rest of the gang here privately about, hey, it was a good show. You guys spoke the truth, and a lot of fans are feeling the same way. So keep that in mind. Obviously, performance on the pitch, we're hoping for to go 17-0 in the second half for that here. I guess we can't go 17-0, 16-0 in the second half, because we've already played 18 games along those lines here to get back to the top where we belong. But do you have something, Jonathan?
Well, I was just gonna say, I mean, they started the second half of the season with a win, so they could technically go 17-0 there.
At least we're
That's how math
not the
works.
Vikings.
Well, that's Robert. Does he even exist? I know he's in our chat, but I haven't. Does he
I'll
even
put
exist
this out
here?
there. That dollar beer night, dude. Like it was. Wait, there were competitions, man. Everybody was trying to stack cups that night.
So, but I'm going to have Forever Loyal by the Smart Boys head us out. And then, like I said here, thank you for everybody for tuning in. What's life without goals?